The Winthrop Town Council for December 16, 2014 is now called to order. The meeting is being recorded and may be viewed on television live. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Boyage.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We have a moment of silence for Carolyn Marks. Carolyn Marks was the wife of Paul Marks, who was our Board of Appeals chairman for many years. He also served on the building committee for the two elementary schools, and he served as assisted with the ferry terminal building as well. Carolyn, his wife, who has passed away, was very active with the girls skating club and with the boys hockey at the high school. So if we could have a moment of silence for Carolyn. Appreciate it. Thank you. Council Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Council Calla? Present. Council Sanford? Council Boncory?
Here.
Council Barone?
Here.
Council Lettieri?
Here.
Council Boyage?
Here.
Council Mayo? Vice President Del
Present.
President Gill?
Present. The quorum is present. See you doing. Mr. Manager.
Yes, as is customary with our new appointees, it's a privilege to present first on the agenda an introduction to Stephen Roach, who comes from Quincy but has worked in Chelsea as the assessor in Chelsea, and he's coming on board in Winthrop as our deputy assessor. And we're very pleased to have you come aboard. It was a very thorough search submitted by the Board of Assessors. The team, with Tim Gordon's assistance, really felt that Mr. Roach has all the the credentials and abilities that we're looking for, and he just seems like a very nice guy. So we're very pleased to have him come aboard, and I wanted to formally introduce you to the council.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Mr. Roach.
And thank you folks at the Christmas party.
I was going to say, that's where I met you.
Yes, they're a great community, and I really look forward to working with you all.
We've heard great things about you, looking forward, and I, as a former assessor, are welcoming you especially.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it. And welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Under recognition tonight, we're going to recognize Frankie Fabiano. Everybody knows Frankie. Frankie's been the manager of every high school team since he was in Winthrop High. And Frankie is celebrating his 40th birthday this month on the 19th. So I want to recognize Frankie, thank Frankie for all he's done for the community. He's a great kid, and he's been really fun watching Frankie do what he does. So happy birthday, Frankie. Hard to believe you're 40 years old. See you soon. Minutes for December 2nd as circulated. Could I have a motion? Motion by Councilor Lettieri, seconded by? Second. Vice President Del Vento. Any discussion on the motion? If not,
Yes, I have.
Yes.
I'm listed as absent. Oh, wait, do I have the wrong?
you have the wrong one.
I have the wrong
Yeah,
one, I'm
yeah.
sorry about that.
Any further discussion? Not? All
No,
those-
yeah, it says here absent.
No, you're on the executive club.
Oh, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. The December 2nd meeting has circulated. Any discussion on that? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. August 19th, we had a question at the last meeting. We did a revised set of minutes. Denise and I went back and checked the handwritten notes, and the revision that we made was accurate. And Denise recirculated those. Is there any, could I have a motion to accept and release the August 19th motion? Motion by Vice President Del Vento, seconded by
Second.
Council Biaggi. Any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention.
One abstention. Paul, on one of those,
Yeah, it says
you wanted to abstain on the
19th.
on the second.
I was on the second, I was,
The one I'm looking at for the second, you You were recorded as absent.
But I was here
That's the
on
correct
December
Okay.
2nd.
Correct that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. On the motion for December 2nd, we'll go back to the December 2nd meetings, minutes, and we will have a motion to correct them and record Council Barone as present. Motion by Council Vice President Delvento, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Cal. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. The public hearing on the Veterans Agent supplementary budget. The Veterans Agent is on her way. She's at a class right now, but she will be here shortly, so if there's no objection, I will move that public hearing to when she arrives. Any objection? If not, we'll move on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Moving right on. Correspondence. Correspondence from Mr. Hingston, Richard Hingston, who's our auditor. And it's a letter to Mr. McKenna with a carbon copy to the council. Jim, I want to commend your finance team for their performance this year. The town established a risk assessment policy, continued its timely reconciliation proceedings, cash accounts and receivables, filed its Schedule A, had free cash certified, and had an audit performed by the beginning of December. The town would not have been able to accomplish all that without the efforts of your entire finance team. These accomplishments are significant. However, the primary purpose for having an accounting system and a strong finance team is to provide management with timely, accurate financial information in order to provide more informed financial decisions. I think your finance team has systems in place and provides you with that information. Commenting on that, I'd like to also recognize our finance team, Tim, Jim, and all of those involved. It's an outstanding accomplishment for our team. It's really, really something to be said for that. Thank you. We also received a letter from John Tardif, who has concerns about the 1 hour parking on Pauline Street, corner of Pauline down to opposite the fire station. He has expressed a concern, and I'm going to ask TSAC, I believe they have received a copy of that, TSAC to review that and respond to Attorney Tardif. Received a very nice letter from a former school committee person who's been very active town meeting and for many years. At this point, she's not able physically to be involved in town affairs, but she did want to write a letter, and I'm going to just summarize it to me, but also to the council. I've seen some good things happening in town, and I am most proud of the improvements and services that are being delivered to us on a daily basis. I know you hear complaints, but I wanted you to know, although not every decision made is perfect in my opinion, nor am I in total agreement, I felt compelled to give you and the council a big thank you. Those people whose domain in Town Hall and other town entities continue to serve our town well. We see the growth and the planning that has made it possible, and now there is more planning to keep our wonderful Winthrop moving forward in a progressive manner. Some of the subjects that have been discussed at the chamber meetings over these many years are becoming a reality and cannot be denied as a huge step in the right direction. It seems my interest has lessened, but nothing is further from the truth. I still have the state of Winthrop in my blood. It is unfortunate my health does not allow me to cooperate. I continue to look at Winthrop as others see it. I had no idea what image portrayed, but when individuals who work with my daughters, came to Winthrop, they commented on their surprise at the appeal of Winthrop. The appeal is something I will never lose after more than 50 years. So Peter, thank you, the council, and all others who have worked to succeed in giving Winthrop a most pleasing picture. I thank you for your comments, and I thank our staff and our leadership for your contributing to that.
Was it Winthrop?
Pardon?
Was it fun?
She would prefer not to have it. Just a former, very active citizen school committee person. Jim, you're going to comment on the Board of Health, on the inspection services. Okay. And then we had 2 Christmas cards, one from the Bash family to the council, and one from the police department to the council. Sorry, a third one from the Housing Authority Board of Directors and employees. Okay, moving on, we can at this point refer back to the public hearing for the Veterans Agents issue. So I will open up a public hearing based upon Mr. McKenna's motion. Do you have that motion, Mr. Jim?
Let me go.
No, I have it right here. Never mind. Mr. McKenna has made a motion that we move that the town council transfer $80,000 from free cash to the Veterans Agent Contract Services account 0154352-544350 to supplement the veterans' benefits payments or take any action relative thereto. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak for this motion?
Okay. Council President, councilors, thank you for hearing me. As we know, it is required of our town to take care of veterans and supplement them, their income. Veterans who meet the criteria, veterans who go through an extensive application process that takes 2 to 3 hours per veteran. After I determine that they warrant the aid, then it gets forwarded to the State Department of Veteran Services, who then says yes or no, work something out. Okay? So there's a lot of factors that go into this, probably 12 tabs that I have to go through with each veteran, whether the housing, food, any money that they get, whether it be Social Security, anything, wages, type of down to the type of car that they drive, down to the if they own or rent, if they're married, if they're separated, if they have children. So, and there's an income threshold per veteran. So this is Mass General Law, Chapter 115 and 108 of CMI that governs these regulations. And I forwarded the basic gist of the regulations to President Gill and Vice President Del Vento.
Which I forwarded to the full council.
I'm sorry?
And I forwarded that to
To the full council. So that was the basic gist of it, with the summary as to what we do for veterans in our town. So keep in mind, whatever the town pays a veteran gets reimbursed about a year later, 75%. And it comes into the general fund. So the town, say the town is paying $10,000 this month, we get $7,500 back for veterans. So if we don't take care of this, then the veteran has the option of going directly to Department of Veteran Services, applying directly with them. They in turn will bill us for the full amount that they give them instead of us giving them, plus an additional 15% admin fee to cover. And then we become non-compliant.
Can you run through that again? Just
So you're a veteran. You fall under the income guidelines, you fall under the threshold, you go through the application. I say, you know what? No, I'm not paying. You go to Department of Veteran Services. You complain to them, they take you in, go through the application process. From there, if they determine that you warrant it, whatever they pay you, say if it's $1,000 a month, they will bill the town the $1,000 for that veteran, plus an additional 15% admin fee. And make us non-compliant.
so the veteran that is paid directly the $10,000,
Or whatever.
Whatever it is.
let's use the figure
Costs
10,000, you used that
versus-
before. If we paid it, we'd get $7,500 back. If we don't pay it, we can pay 10,000 plus 15.
Plus 15%.
Yeah, okay, great.
And we
Thank
become
you.
non-compliant.
And become, what happens when you become non-compliant? That's just for that one case, or?
No, the town becomes a non-compliant.
Okay, thank you.
And it makes you ineligible for grants and whatnot.
I would ask if the director could talk a little bit about how she monitors these cases and what diligence she uses to track these folks and determine their ongoing eligibility.
And it's not, it's not only the veteran that has these, this right, it's widows of veterans and dependent children of veterans. So an unmarried widow of a veteran who died because of his service connection disability, if she is low income, if she makes less than $1,000 a month, whether it's Social Security, money in the bank, whatever it is, if she makes less than $1,000 a month, then she is eligible for some financial assistance, just like a veteran. So I go through each tab, which is complete about their demographics, the type of dwelling they live in, the type of vehicle they have, money in the bank, what they get for an income, what they get for Social Security. If they're a veteran, I highly suggest to them that they use the VA for health care, so we don't have to pay for their health care. If they're a widow or a dependent, then we are obligated to pay that Part B, that $104.90 per month that the widow pays. We are obligated to pay that. I have several instances where we are obligated to pay that. They also get reimbursed all medical expenses and if they have transportation costs, which I keep a tight rein on. So I highly encourage my veterans to use the VA system. If they're retired and not working, then there's nothing we can do about that. But if they're of working age, then I put them on an employment plan, and they have to turn in 3 to 5 job searches to me every week, and I require it twice a month. The state says once a month, I take it twice a month. I check if they're working or not. Any of the documents that I do gets matched with the Department of Revenue, Mass Department of Revenue. So if they are working somewhere and not reporting to me, then I get a report from the Department of Revenue. If they are not working and they're on an unemployment plan, I make them do the job searches. I make them get a counselor at one of the career centers, whether it be Lynn or Chelsea or through New England Center for Homeless Veterans. And I also set up job searching for them. So I also help them with their VA claims, but that's the other side of the house. This side of the house, Winthrop side of the house, I monitor them, I check them. So the ones that I have on employment plans, I am checking constantly. If they are working under the table, then I do what I can to find out if they are, and if they are, then I hold them to task.
Any questions from the council?
How many veterans are you?
Council?
Sorry. How many veterans are you handling right now? Just
On Chapter 115, it's 15. 14 or 15. One person just came off, another 2 people are coming off in January. So we have about 1,800 veterans in Winthrop. So it's a small percentage.
So out of the 1,800, you only have that 15 or 16?
14 or 15 that are getting a stipend every month.
Council?
When they come off, does that mean that they've gotten a job and they're...
Or they died.
Or they passed away?
They passed away. If they're a widow or a retired person, then they've passed on. If they're able to work, then they've gotten a job.
Council, let's hear.
I mean, it's an incredible amount of work that you have, and I imagine you don't have a lot of help doing it. My question is, how many, we want to make sure that everybody who's eligible gets the funds that they deserve and that are rightfully theirs. Are there many of these people that have recently moved to town?
A couple because of family. No one's moved to town because they heard that Winthrop is easy on veterans, and people have moved to town. I have a person who just moved here from the south because he does have family here, and in the event that he wants, something happens to family, he can step in and take care of them.
And I know there's a supplemental request of $80,000. What was the initial budget?
It was 100, just under 100,000. I can pull it up.
That's her total budget, but for the benefit.
For the benefit part, is it 50-ish?
Give me a minute. I want to say 60, but give me a minute, I'll get it.
We incrementally increased it over the past couple of years,
Right.
from what I recall.
And I know there were many years that it seemed to, not even come close to the allotment that
It was
they had.
50 for a lot.
Right, for many years, I think.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead.
So roughly, we have about potentially $140,000, of which, so the average is maybe $10,000 a year, about $800 a month that they're receiving.
average. Some people, some of my veterans get 200, 300. There are some that get 2,000 if they have children. So it depends if they're, especially if they're dependent children under the age of 18.
And my last question is, I know you mentioned how you do a lot of investigatory work to try to make sure, do you have the resources needed? Do you have the time and the resources to be able to perform all those, or is there something we could do that we might be able to help you with that investigatory work?
I get paid for 30 hours a week.
Right.
I do more than that, but that's my choice.
Understand.
Any further questions, Council?
In the past, had the town, had it cost the town money, I guess? I was wondering, where you had said before, if this wasn't done this way, it would actually be more expensive for us. I guess in the past, had it been?
We have not been under the penalty phase of what Rose is referring to, no.
Okay.
We had some change in the office, and there were some concerns about follow-through a little bit, but, we seem to have covered those issues up very well with Rose.
Any further questions from the council? Just, Tim.
Just to answer the council's question, the budget for benefits for FY15 is $64,000. What we spent in FY13 was $54,000. What we spent in FY14 was about $95,000 in benefits.
Just on the increase now, this will go from the 50 to 130. Do you think that'll carry, do you project that that'll carry you for the rest of the fiscal year, or will we be back again, do you think?
I hope we're not back, but if we are, we are.
Yeah.
I have no idea. If 10 vets walk through my office and they're eligible, then by statute, I have to put them on benefits.
No, I'm not holding you to it. I just
Okay.
wondered if you had a projection that you think this is going to cover you for the next 6 months.
I'm hoping.
So,
Council President?
yeah.
Council,
Paul.
are these, is this reflective of the recent wars, or are these older veterans?
This is reflective of the recent wars. I have several members, several veterans who have come back and are falling on hard times. And I do have several older vets that aren't getting, because they left the work, because they retired, and their Social Security isn't even enough to survive. So it's both, but I do have a number of young people who have left, who recently have returned, and just can't get, their foot in the door. They may be suffering. I have a substance abuse in treatment. I have several who are severely depressed who are at clinic every day for PTSD and whatnot. So because they're in clinic, they can't get the benefit. They can't get the benefit of working because they're in clinic, while we're waiting for their VA claim to be processed, which could take anywhere from 6 months to a year, and that's without an appeal. Soon as they get that VA claim coming in, that counts as income, so that drops down from what we pay out to them. I've recently, in the last year and a half, I've managed to help 7 veterans get 100% disabled that never got it before.
That's great.
So I encourage veterans when they come back to please put in a claim, because they're entitled to it, especially ones who were boots on the ground in Iraq, Afghanistan, or wherever they may have gone.
Just one more thing. I just want to thank you for the work and the care that you do for our town and our community, and especially for the veterans.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Just one other quick point of clarification. When somebody goes on the
Chapter 115,
retirement, I think, disability,
disability.
that comes from the federal government, not from us?
Right,
And, yeah,
VA.
that's what I thought. Okay.
Federal.
And I echo Paul's sentiments of appreciation. of what
Thank
you
you,
do.
I appreciate it.
Council President, could you tell, you are selling the ornaments, can you tell me?
I'm not selling.
Not selling. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that is? Just 'cause-
The ornaments, it's a remembrance tree. Barbara Bishop and I are co-chairs of Friends of Winthrop Beach. So we wrote a grant, and we like to bring things to the beach, but because the beach is in the condition it's in right now, we can't really do much on the beach. So we were told to do other things around town, buy Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. So we came up with the idea, actually Barbara Bishop came up with the idea of having a remembrance tree or a veterans tree. So we our committee bought ornaments. And any family member of a veteran or a veteran, him or herself, can decorate an ornament for a veteran. So if you have kids and they want to put a veteran, you know, their dad or their mom, they want to put their on there, or like I put my father-in-law on there, who was in World War II, he's passed. His name is on an ornament. They could decorate the ornament and put it on the tree that we have right across from the POW Memorial. And after Christmas, after New Year's, after the Epiphany, January 6th, when we take down the tree, those ornaments will go back to that family. So, and that's free, so.
On the public hearing, is there anybody else that would like to be heard from the public or from the council, either in favor or in opposition? If not, the public hearing is closed.
Thank
And
you.
if there is no objection from the council, I'll take a motion to move to new business and take a vote.
Old business.
Could I have a motion to?
We could do the old business.
Old business.
For the committee report on it.
Oh, okay. Yep, right, okay. So we'll move on to the committee reports. Council, Vice President Alberto.
The Finance Committee held a meeting this afternoon at 6:30, present with myself and Councilor Thierry on the committee. Also present were Council President Gill and Tim Gordon. The item of discussion was the $80,000 transfer to the Veterans Agent. There was a motion by Councilor Thierry, seconded by myself, to move it forward to the council for a hearing with no recommendation, which was passed unanimously. We had a motion to adjourn at 6:45.
Report's accepted. Could I have a motion to move to new business and vote on this? Ro, can you just hang in case there's any
Yes, sir.
question while we're here? Could I have a motion to move to new business? Motion by Councilor Callen,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Boncory. All those in favor of moving to new business, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. And
Want me to read it?
please.
And we have coming from the Finance Committee, move that the town council transfer $80,000 from free cash to Veterans Agent Contract Services account 015435254435 to supplement veterans benefit payments or take any action relative thereto.
Motion by Vice President Del Vento. Is there a second?
Second. Committee.
It didn't come from committee with a recommendation.
Oh, correct, sorry.
Do we have a second? Second by Councilor Varone. Any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
Have
you.
a good holiday.
Thank
Have a
you.
good Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Moving on to rules and ordinance. That is on hold for the present time, right?
Right, we're gonna probably have a meeting January 13th.
Okay.
At 7 PM, if that's all right with my fellow councilors on the committee.
So far, so good.
Okay.
Tell you in a second.
We'll give you some more work to do, so that might be like a 24-hour meeting.
What is that for?
January 13th for rules and ordinances. On the rules changes, proposed rules changes, and the, I think
I'll give
we're
you a
getting an
couple of other things.
SDOT.
Yeah,
January 13th is good.
January 13th at 7.
7 PM.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna, moving on to the town manager's report.
Yes, good evening, thank you. First on my report this evening, I would like to ask Director Calla to give a briefing to the council on his work this week to identify, he was tasked to do, areas where the town might consider supplementing the sidewalk improvements for Contract 4. Steve, would you give a brief update?
A few weeks ago, I was asked, with the engineering for Contract 4 coming to completion, what was included for sidewalks? And I explained that it was generally just the affected sidewalks in the scope of the project where the water services would be replaced. From that discussion, there was a number of you councilors that wanted to know what it would cost to replace all sidewalks, much like the Contract 3 project. We did it based on the scope of the project. We did a takeoff, myself and the engineering group, what it incurred. We come up with a construction estimate for full sidewalk replacement of $770,000. That's ripping out, resetting curbs, bringing everything up to ADA compliancy. What I did these last 2 days is I went out and I walked every bit of the project, taking into account, what could remain, what was okay, where we needed to do our ADA upgrades, our curb reset, and I come up with numbers more in the vicinity of $400,000 for the Hill area and $200,000 for the Pico Ave area. That's keeping sidewalk that I feel meet our safety requirements. So we could save $170,000 if we leave what I feel is adequate sidewalk, is undamaged sidewalk, and replace the remainder. Those are my numbers.
So it was the 770 that replaced everything, right?
770 went down every street, just ripped it out, whether it was, needed it really or not. I don't want to say it was a waste, but it's actually a lot quicker for a contractor to go right through. It allows you to reset every curb. There's a lot of areas in this project where the curbing is fine. Pico area, most of the curbing is actually in pretty good shape. The reveals are fine. What you don't want to do is reclaim a road and reshape a road and have no curb reveal. You can't control your water flows to your structure. So that's what I looked at, what worked, what I felt, if we're going to go through this procedure of trying to save money but still making the project work and function, you're looking at about $600,000 to do the sidewalk replacement that's necessary. Otherwise, again, it would just be the affected sidewalk replacement at the services.
Questions from the council?
That's great.
Council?
That's a huge savings. I think that's wonderful.
So the 600,000 would bring us into ADA compliance, would replace whatever is unsafe. The 700 would be a total strip reset. 770.
Which will also bring you up to compliance. What it'll do is there's going to be no discretion on what gets saved and what doesn't get saved.
So
Council?
would that mean that, in essence, some of the sidewalks would be a different color?
That's right.
So it wouldn't be that uniform look like we have?
That's right.
Okay.
Councilors?
For $170,000.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
We'll spray paint the other stuff.
Exactly. Well,
You
that's
convinced him, Steve. That's a first. Is there any further question on the sidewalk numbers for Steve?
Does that go back to finance and public hearing, or?
Yeah, it would be a motion that we would then now put forward. This is a briefing for you, so that when we tee up an additional request, you understand what the genesis of it is and why we're doing it. And so we'll put forward, assuming there's some direction from the council on this to do so, we'll put forward a motion and have that referred to the
This
finance
isn't
committee.
even going to come before us until the project gets started and they're working on the street repairs.
Several months.
Well, yeah, it's something that's developing. Obviously, he's going to put more of a fine point on the numbers and incorporate them in. And, our hope is that we have a budget figure now that we can work from. And of course, we have to bid these projects. So, it all remains to be seen, what the final bid will be.
Mayor, you just hit on it. We're at the point now that we're looking to put this out to bid in early spring, the February, March area, probably the March timeframe. And having this information, whether or not we're going to go the full, the additional sidewalk or not, is something you really want to get in the, correct as you're bidding this. You put things in as an alternate, your numbers don't always reflect what they should be, because the contractor's unsure and he wants to put his money on the known items.
Right. Council?
So, we were at 2.8, and we had a series of funding schemes to bring us down to 2.2, I think, for the bond. Now, there was money that was coming to this place from Shirley Street.
There was a
Correct.
balance that we still had as retained.
There was a point, but then the point money got taken back to the point?
Yeah, the point project was always getting a portion of Chapter 90,
Right,
as was this project.
right.
It's just
It was a timing
It was
issue.
a timing issue.
Okay, and we
Now
got.
it looks like both of these projects could potentially happen this calendar year.
Okay, because I'm looking from your new starting point, loses 200 on that side of the street. And then we were putting 300 in out of water or sewer reserve, water. So what's the mechanism for the extra? Because this takes the $600, makes it 800.
I mean, clearly, from my perspective, I would want to move first on contract 4, simply because the Point Shirley drainage project has been going on for some time. We're involved with federal authorities on that. We haven't, the scope of work has not been finalized. That could linger in the calendar of things, such that,
Past
the
June?
director, it could, such that the director would then allocate the Chapter 90 as he sees fit. So it's a bit of a play here that we've got to evaluate, in terms of the funding availability.
I thought the play was the fact that you had to move on the point, that was, and then, did we see something tonight about the tip coming back on?
We need to be in communication with them and go to the MPO with our plan. I forwarded an email to you, Steve, on that point, which it's always good to get communication from them that we're on the list and we're getting some formal communication.
We've already got our 175 in on that, but we need 3 1/4 more or something, you've said.
That's right. What we actually did, because the last correspondence we had, they were 4 years out before they were awarding new projects. We redirected that engineering money, instead of going for 25% for the entire project from Metcalf up to Crest, we wanted to get to 100% engineering from Metcalf, including Herman Street, down to McGee's Corner, so that we could be ready to utilize the the transportation bond bill money. So it still had to get, you gotta understand, it still had to get engineered 100% either way. So we broke the project in half to get one section of it fully engineered so that we can move on that money.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes I just
Mr.
get
McKenna?
confused by the 40 things going in different directions.
That's good things going on. Mr. McKenna?
Yes, okay. Clearly, we can continue to update the council on these issues as they develop. So we will be proposing a motion forthwith on the subject of sidewalks. I am asking the council to do some housekeeping. We are in the process of closing out our Copeland Park grant, and the state has asked us to get some confirmatory action by the council so that their audit goes smoothly in the event that this was an audited project. Even though our match was part of a budget process, it didn't have an independent vote of the council. It was included in as part of the parks capital line item, and so the state's asking for a specific expressed language from the council on a vote in support of the grant. And so they're asking for 3 things. 1, that the council vote to confirm that appropriation was made. 2, to accept the grant as it was presented. And 3, to impose a deed restriction on the park as a park in perpetuity. We knew that those were all conditions in terms of having received the funds, and had every expectation that those things would meet the satisfaction of the council, but they'd like to see it actually in language and a vote of the council. So I'm asking for the council to refer that to rules and to come forward with a favorable report. Because we'd like to close the grant out and get the funding in to pay bills.
Do you need that referred to rules and finance, or just to rules?
It could go either way.
I think just rules. Okay, we'll just do rules, okay.
Finance.
And we don't need a public hearing because we already have the
No,
funds?
we already had the allocation. This
Okay.
is just confirmatory.
Right,
Yeah.
so we'll just refer to rules when we get there, okay.
And I did forward to the council, and as I asked the building department to give me a mid-year update on where we were relative to activity in the department, both on the building side and on the health side. And I believe I forwarded on to you a letter to that from Al Legee. And I wanted to see where we were relative to last year, so we could take a measure of activity. A lot of what we base our local receipts analysis on as we prepare for our budget is to understand the level of building activity in the town. It's sort of a benchmark that we use to look at how we're doing in terms of revenues. And clearly we had some large projects last year, and so we hit a very high record of $467,323 in terms of revenue generated by the department. We see that to date they've generated $257,814, and that's tracking fairly well, given the fact that there were 3 large projects. So a lot of that's been made up in terms of total actual permits processed, and so we're looking just above where we were benchmark wise last year in terms of total permits out. So that's good. That's a good indicator of what we're looking at. I can't tell you at this point whether or not we're going to hit the same record of 467, but we're at a midpoint. We're pretty well on our way to doing well this year. On the health side, clearly we're doing well. We're seeing a lot more revenue in terms of the inspectional services piece of the sanitation. The apartment inspections, and as well as just generating inspections that were below performance, I think, of where we should have been. But given that we've staffed that department adequately, I believe now we're seeing results in terms of revenue and also inspections occurring. So on both fronts, I'm pleased with where we are, and now we're developing a sort of a understanding, of the bandwidth of the department and where what our expectations should be relative to how much both in terms of permits and in revenue where they're going forward. So I'm happy with the report.
That's a good one. It's showing some real initiative and some moving forward.
Well, we all took a gamble on putting this consolidated department together,
right.
With the expectation, that we would see some revenue and have it pay for itself and then some. And I believe that it's doing that.
And the rental inspection ordinance is helping with that too.
Yeah. And I have sent to the council in your Dropbox a proposal that I plan to discuss with the planning board and with the Conservation Commission and with the Friends of Belle Isle. And that's a plan to propose phase 2 of Walk Winthrop, which incorporates a number of features of items that had been identified in our Walk Winthrop plan, but now finally puts into a plan what that would look like. And that would be reclamating really the greenway area that is commonly referred to, that goes down towards Morton Street. It would be engaging the DCR in the development of a park, sort of a marine ecology park on the thumb of land that presently sits vacant and is sometimes used as a receptacle for varieties of items. It would beautify that. It would build structures where the public could access that and have a beginning of a walking trail down along the water's edge that connects to the town's already existing trailhead around the cemetery, and then connecting finally to where the Short Beach project left off in terms of its, the DCR activity in the back off of.
Councilors, could we have one conversation at a time, please? Then manager our attention.
So, this really, we pursued this, and in cooperation with the public meetings that we had with the Conway School of Landscape Architecture, as an idea to how to really bring awareness to Belle Isle Marsh. It's a great marsh. Only 4 of them exist in the Commonwealth. Only one of them can make the claim as an urban great marsh, and that's Belle Isle. And so, it's a marine ecology biosphere that's certainly, underutilized and under-recognized as a regional asset. And what this plan intends to do is work with the environmental groups, perhaps trustees of reservations, perhaps the Mass Audubon, and with NOAA to provide some educational components, not only for understanding what this marsh does, but really a programming aspect that invites people to come and visit and understand how a great marsh works, and build the appreciation and stewardship that should go to recognize this incredible asset that the town has. I'm also aware of the fact that ecotourism is a huge opportunity across the globe, and Boston tourism board has always been looking for opportunities to advance ecotourism within its reach, and sees this as a great opportunity to as an economic development driver to improve opportunities for visits to such an incredible asset. So they would be on board with promoting this as a regional asset. And so, there are lots of opportunities here for the town to recognize and reclaim, a physical asset, to bring the kind of, oversight and stewardship to this site, to build more patronage to the site, as well as, taking care of this asset. And, you do that through education, and you do that through connecting people to their waterfront. And, this is a great opportunity for us to look at how we can not only continue to pursue the Walk Winthrop plan, but to really bring to life a corner of our world that I think is underutilized. And I hope that people will engage with me in a conversation about this. And I'd certainly like input from the planning board, from Conservation Commission, and really from anyone who would like to review this proposal. And that's all it is right now. It's just an idea, but I hope that it's an idea that people see value in and want to pursue.
Thank you.
And then I'd ask Tim Gordon to give a brief update of mid-year financials.
Sure. Just a few things. I sent the November financial report to your email. It's also in your Dropbox, so that provides status of where we're at this point. We started reaching out to department heads just to get a feel for how they're viewing their budget between now and the end of the year. It's a little early to determine whether or not we have any serious problems or if everything's going to be smooth, but there's a couple of areas that we're kind of viewing as soft spots right now. One is building maintenance department. Looks like it's a little heavy on some of the contract services. So we're going to take a closer look at that and get with Richie. And then the North Shore Aggie. So when we budgeted for that, we budgeted for the 5 students that were attending. Between that time and now, a 6th student has enrolled. So we actually got the bill from them, and John Macero's looking into it. We're going to do a little due diligence around that invoice, but, so there may be more to follow on that. Some of the unknown areas, it's just too early to tell. Utilities is one unknown. We heard a lot about increased electricity rates, but time will tell as the work progresses and the weather, depending on the weather and other things. And it's kind of early to make any real conclusions on overtime for police and fire. Right now, they look okay, but the winter can change that. So that's pretty much the status on where we're at, budget to actual. Tax bills will be mailed out the end of next week. I believe on the 26th is what we're aiming for. Monica Ford and Carol Douglas would work really hard to sort of get those bills generated and get them off to our bill trust, who sends the bills out. We're kind of working that right now, and they're probably got to go to them tomorrow. And then there's a QC process. So they've been working hard. We don't have an assessor, obviously, at this point in time. We have Patrick finished up last week, so and Steve's starting, but we're in the interim of that. So they've stepped up to make sure that everything's squared away. So.
Thank you, Tim.
That concludes my report.
Can I stick back on the manager's report and ask Steve, what's the status on that ongoing pole on Cross Street? Are we moving, have we reached any agreement there? Or?
I haven't, I had a meeting again, and I explained the town's wishes to not have any additional street poles, to reconsider the owner's easement option, and they told me that they would get back to me. That was about over a month ago now. Haven't heard anything.
Looks kind of scary, the way it's leaning. Rich?
Mr. McKenna, do we have an update on what's going on with the houseboat situation and the legal status, and then about maybe another marina interested in bypassing the town to go to the EPA for, I'll call it a variance? Do we know where we're at with legality for things like that?
That's the first I've heard of that option, but we did have Al McGee do an investigation this week, and he did a site inspection, made a determination that the houseboat had been identified to us as an operating houseboat for visitors, is not in functioning order at the moment, and so he concluded that their status was undetermined at this point. We've had mixed messages from folks about who's there, who isn't there, what their intent is to move. Some have given us some, discussion about potentially going back to Charlestown. We don't have a real direct answer to the question because of, I think most folks, are playing a wait-and-see approach to what we do and how we do it. What we need, what compels us to enforce something is a violation. We need to act on a violation, and we have ordered a cease and desist against them, but we have to go into court with a basis upon which the court can act. And if they have withdrawn, themselves from acting in that capacity, it sort of weakens our position, if you will. But we're being vigilant. We're watching it, and if they continue to operate, and we are aware of that, we will proceed and take full legal action if that's necessary.
Thank you.
And I thought that were we taking measures to looking into developing some zoning laws or things?
Yeah, that's later on the agenda tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
The planning board has issued a report to the council on that matter.
Thank you.
Council,
Yes.
can I just have one question? You had mentioned some of them might be looking to go back to Charlestown. Have they repaired or rebuilt whatever the issues were initially, that the boaters couldn't be there?
Yes, Charlestown is just, they've completely rebuilt a portion of it and sent notices to former customers.
Oh, so if they want to, now they can safely go back to it.
It's really,
Well, we don't know if
we don't
it's not
know.
all
Nobody's been
No.
informing us of
Yeah.
the status of things. We
hear these things so that people observe, and that's the best information we can get at this point. But nobody's really, taking, this and bringing into us a clear message. And, I hope to ask, I'll be meeting with Attorney Cipolletta tomorrow, who represents some of these folks, and I'll be asking him to give me a clear understanding of where things stand.
He's the one actually that told me in writing, not in writing, verbally, that he has been informed and he's preparing to take his boat back there, unofficially. Richard?
With the, since our last time we had an update, have there been any more town services required to go out there for anything, emergency services or anything else?
Well, they had an event yesterday, I believe.
Yes, yesterday, we had a 61-year-old woman go overboard attempting to redo the lines on her boat. She was in the water approximately 15 minutes, couldn't self-rescue. She was pulled out of the water, transported to the hospital. 2 nights ago at 10:17, I think it was, we had a malicious false alarm pulled. We have a pull station that comes into us automatically at the top of all 3 gangways. Does not alert the people in Atlantis in the building, but it does come into us if anybody had a fire on their boat. There is public access behind that building, so it's no reason to believe it was anybody who lives there, but it still was a marina police station building. But other than that, we had one other gentleman go in last winter, slipped on his boat, and other than that, we haven't had a problem.
Thank you.
What's concerning to us, if I might,
No, go ahead.
Council President, is the pump out situation and the health issue.
Yes.
It's hard to detect, but it's clearly something that is on our minds relative to the, condition down there. If folks are living on these vessels and our pump out service certainly is not available during these months, what are they doing? And we don't have an adequate answer to that question at the moment.
Council Mail?
So we do have the legal right to bring a case against them now because, if nothing else, the condominium order of conditions from either planning or appeals didn't allow for boats to be stored there on the winter time. So we have enough. I think what we don't have is somebody pushing and drawing a line in the sand. And I'll tell you, I have to give you credit, it worked out well on Beacon Street. We went in, we got it done, and you got 5 or 6 other properties you're working on, and I know you're working, I think we just have to draw a line with these people and say, listen, by, a plan to us by January 15th, or your order of conditions are in violation, and then we have a legal right.
Well, it's no coincidence that Attorney Cipolletta is coming in to talk to me tomorrow, because he's gotten word from us that we are revisiting their status and staying on it, just as we're staying on everything else. And we will, unless we get a report of some certainty with regard to what they plan to do, and we can believe this, and we find it, reasonable, unless we get something in that, a report like that, I think we won't have any alternative but to take further action.
Well, I look at it, if he's gonna come in and talk to you tomorrow, and our next meeting is on the something or January.
6th.
So that gives him until the Thursday before January to come up, and we make a motion that says we go, and we discuss the motion, and we get it going, and we just fire him off and get the deal done. So he knows that, okay, that's it, he's got my promise, the second we go for it, or whatever the meeting is.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Any further questions for the manager? If not, we'll move on to the school department update. The cheerleaders and the football team will both be recognized next Monday night by the school committee. The football team for being Northeast Conference champs, and the cheerleaders also Northeast Conference champs, and they're on their way to Florida for the national competition. The computer carts that the council funded several weeks back are in and functioning, and everybody's very pleased with that and appreciates the cooperation of the council in doing that. It's been a great boost for the whole program. Athletic Director Peter Gobiel has announced his retirement. Peter is retiring January 31st. The superintendent has put interim plans into place until a permanent appointment is made. On December 10th, Judge McDonald from the East Boston District Court and Tom Tassinari, probation officer, visited the high school American government class with the main message to inform the students of the dangers of alcohol and drugs and how this ties into its work. He was very impressed by the participation of the kids, the questions they asked, and how they participated in his program, in his presentation. Our beloved Richard Honan was featured with Miss Sargent's second grade class on Channel 7 this past Wednesday evening at 5:30, where the students helped to fill 80 mini care packages for the troops going overseas. Thanks, Richard, as always, for your dedication, and thanks for involving the kids in that as well. And that completes the school department update. Any questions on the school department update? If not, moving on to old business.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I just ask the manager one other question that I wrote down but didn't get to? The harbor barge, I know they seem to be working on the pilings, but what's the deal with the barge? Because harbor management seemed to cancel the other night.
Yeah, we're developing a bid for the surface works for the barge. And Rich Safuni is developing the specs on that now. We were consulted with from a specialist who did a complete, end-to-end, top-to-bottom inspection of that barge, and the report came back favorable, that the condition of the barge is better than we thought it was. But we do need to address some things, and those are quite less expensive than a full reclamation of the barge. So we're taking them in sort of bits and pieces. The surface will be put out as a bid just for redoing the surface of the barge. There'll be some restoration of some of the internal chambers of the barge because they were not completely prepared adequately when we purchased the barge, apparently. And but the zincs have been done, and the steel integrity of the barge was tested and came back positive. So all in all, it's a good report, and we'll be moving forward in the next few weeks with a bid, and then hopefully when the weather allows to have somebody come out and do a strip and treatment for the surface of the barge.
Thank you. Any further questions for the town manager? If not, moving on to old business, we have already voted the veterans agent supplementary budget. Moving on to the sale of town land, that was referred back to the town manager at the 12-2 meeting, and you've done some research. Could you just update us?
Yes, I basically asked the attorney to have the party requesting purchase of the land to market and to essentially establish on the ground where this property lies, such that the council can view it and be confident that it's not already being well utilized by public sidewalk or whatever that you find might be something you want to retain. So they've expressed that initially they balked at that, but I think that they understood the basis for it and now have agreed to go ahead and do that. So I'm waiting to hear from them when they get their people out to mark the area.
Does it make sense to the council that we refer that to rules to see that the purchase is correct when we receive the material? If I could have a motion to refer it to rules, and when the material comes in, we'll deal with it.
Motion.
Motion by Council Lettieri, seconded by
Second.
Council Barone. Any discussion on referring?
He likes this kind of work.
I know he does. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, the motion to refer the sale of town land to the Rules Committee, and they will deal with it when they get the information from the applicant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Under old business, your schedule for that on the rules. Houseboat report from the planning board. Planning board presented a preliminary report. They discussed it at their meeting last week, and we are waiting for their final report. And I would like, I think it makes sense when that comes in to refer that to a joint referral to rules and to public health and safety. If that makes sense, could I have a motion to do so?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Lettieri, seconded by Councilor Boyajin, that we will refer the planning board report to a joint referral of the public safety and the rules and ordinances.
Council President?
Yeah.
Does, all right, no, I was gonna say, is that worthwhile to involve the health department, but this is going to the committees? That's
Yeah,
okay.
and the health department is welcome to participate in those meetings, and love to have them do it. Councilor?
They had a joint meeting with the planning board.
Right.
Right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. The Herman Street SDOD application is in sort of a similar position in that it has had a public hearing by the planning board, and there is a specific process and time frame that during which we as a council have to make a determination, yes, no, or extension. So with that as well, to make sure that we follow all the guidelines correctly, I'm also going to request that that be referred to rules and probably public safety along with it, because there are some public safety issues there as well. So if I could have a motion that we do the same thing with the SDOD as we did with the houseboat report, that is to refer them to a joint referral of the rules and ordinances and public health and safety. Motion?
Motion.
By Vice President Del seconded by Councilor Lettieri. All those in favor say, any discussion?
Is there anything to do with the historical site at all, or anything like that that would need to be?
We don't know. We're waiting. What I haven't received, I had expected to receive, and I had requested to receive by mid last week, was some more documentation from the applicant, as well as the planning board's final report on that. So once that's received, again, it will go to the joint referral. And Phil, you're going to keep on top of that to make sure we keep our deadlines?
Absolutely.
And did we suggest that we should do a public hearing at the next meeting?
At the meeting prior to my meeting.
Right. So Denise, you were going to set up a public hearing for the 6th on that SDLD. Okay.
So if they haven't provided with all the information you need, how does the clock start ticking then?
We're going to leave that to the rules and ordinances to determine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if Betsy Lane could weigh in on that, but the clock's starting to tick.
The timing, another issue.
Yeah, Phil reviewed, Councilor Boncory reviewed that earlier, and he has that time clock. And
It's a
he's gonna-
30-day, I believe, window, right?
45 days
45.
from when they end their close of their hearing.
Oh, close of the planning board
Planning
hearing
board hearing.
to when you have to act on it.
Yes.
45
Else
days.
it goes.
But the question, I think, is relevant. You know, if their complete submittal is not in, is there a tolling
Yeah, that-
of that time?
If the complete application isn't in, planning board has to act 30 days from when they put their application in. And then after the application is received and after a hearing, 30 days, they have 45 more days to approve. If
Okay,
they
so
don't
it's 30
approve
days and then
or make
45
conditions,
days.
it's approved.
Okay.
And if we don't have all the information and time is running, then they either give us an extension or we have to deny it.
Right.
Correct?
Who gives us the
Now,
extension?
you see, the SDOD is completely up to the planning board whether to allow
The
something
permit
built
itself.
in the
Yeah,
SDOD.
yeah, right.
If this piece of land that's on Herman Street is not in the SDOD, that's the only time we come into it to determine if we want to put it into the SDOD
Right.
or not put it into the SDOD.
Right.
So we'll keep it
So we're
close.
not really under that gun that the planning board is under with the 30 days and 45 days? Because it's a different petition to us to
So,
move it into an overlay district.
so they have made a petition to us, which we refer to planning.
The planning board.
Now, planning board comes back with a recommendation.
Planning board has a hearing within 30 days.
They did that.
At the end of their hearing, they have 45 days to allow or disallow.
They have 45.
5 days. But it's not even in
The 40.
that district yet, so it comes before us under a separate motion to determine whether or not to put that into the district.
But is there a time constraint on that piece?
Once we get that application to us to put it into the SDOD, I guess there would be a time similar, a 30-day, 60-day time.
Because
$30-day, 45-day time.
my concern is what constitutes them applying to us. They sent us a letter that we then referred to planning board, correct?
Okay.
And then planning board had their hearing, so if you can just check those dates and make
Yeah,
sure.
let me check when,
It sounds
I haven't
like-
seen their application. I didn't go to the planning board meeting, so I have no idea.
Council.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes. Council Burrow.
If I could, I would really like to see this in writing from
Yeah.
Betsy Lane.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I guess my question is, are they doing this, the applicants, are they
Email is
sending it
fine.
to both the planning board and to us to request either they're in it through the planning board, or at the same time, are they asking us to put them in it?
We need to clarify that.
We haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I have.
So then,
you
I haven't
seen
seen,
it?
no.
No, we didn't get the letter. The letter went to the
oh,
planning
all
board.
right.
Jim, Mr. McKenna, we saw the letter that went to planning board, correct? The packet that went to the planning board?
Yeah.
Does that constitute an application to us? I thought
Hadn't
something
you
came,
received a letter of notification from
we
the
did.
attorney, the applicant?
right,
I believe you
Yeah.
did.
So it's,
We-
we're
we-
doing both.
and we then referred it to planning.
planning, then did their thing.
If we could just get a clarification from
Yeah.
Betsy
Can-
and then
can
instead
we-
of going
Can I
back
ask
and
a
forth.
question here? Can we have more than a clarification? Can we get a timeline
Yeah.
with
Yeah, that's what
what
we
day,
Yeah.
what happened, and because of that, what we have to do, and what the planning board's obligation is, and what the council's obligation is, on a calendar that we can figure out for those of us that can't figure this out?
And you could get that information to rules,
Yeah.
and we will do we'll still schedule a public hearing, just to make sure that we've covered time.
Can I ask
Yeah.
the town manager if that initial letter had been put into our Dropbox at any time or any place?
If I'm not mistaken, Denise, I believe that the council received correspondence.
I believe they did too.
Is that from attorney letters?
Yes.
Yes. they did.
Yeah.
And that we read that correspondence and we referred it.
referred it.
Then-
Right, I think that was 2 meetings ago that we referred it
So I
to
think
them.
it's up to us, but let's
I
get
can,
clarification.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the motion. The motion is that we refer this to a joint committee of Rules and Ordinances and Public Safety, and Mr. McKenna will get the information and work with Chairman Boncory with a timeline. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
I don't see it.
Moving on to new business. Move that the town council authorize the town manager's office to submit a grant application to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EEA, our Common Backyards Grant Program for the amount of $200,000 and appropriate the total sum of $250,000, including the grant amount to restore refurbished Coughlin Park on Coughlin Playground on Point Shirley, and to permanently dedicate the land in perpetuity at Coughlin Playground as a recreation space under MGL Chapter 45, Section 3. This is the first time on the agenda. We would need a
Motion to waive.
motion to waive Rule 2C by Council or Lettieri, seconded by?
Second.
Second by Vice President Del Vento. All those in favor of waiving the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Opposed?
No,
Barone, Council Barone and Council Boncory are opposed?
Right.
I didn't hear you, but I just
I
made
know, I didn't
that.
hear you. We're trying to find out what it is, what we don't
waiving
know.
the rule.
Any discussion on the motion to waive the rule? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. On the main motion, Is there,
Motion.
we've mo,
Getting cranky.
Yes.
we didn't make a motion yet. Okay, motion by Council Lettieri, seconded by
Second.
Council Vice President Del Vento. Any discussion on that motion, which we talked about under the manager's report? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We had a proposal from Mr. and Mrs. Robert and Loretta Porter on 135 Sergeant Street. They were redoing their seawall, rehabbing it, and all new steel and a new process where they spray concrete over the wall. They called and made the offer to extend their construction work to cover the public wall at the end of Sergeant Street, which was in desperate need of repair, as are many of our town seawalls. They asked permission, and they were granted permission to do this. And Councilor Mayle is going to put a couple of pictures up on the wall of before and after. While he's working with that, I would like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Porter for making this donation and improving the wall next to their property, as well as their own. In this picture that's on the wall right now, you can see that this right now is the wall finished, and it's a spray. These both pictures, it's a spray, sort of a stucco. You can see that there's a drain. This is a before. This is what the town wall looked like. Great, what's that picture?
This is actually, this is a woman up next to Nick that won $25.
Oh, okay.
And this is one that I got from too far away. This is the other winner. Their name is Griffiths. Griffin, they're up in the Highlands.
Griffith on Highland?
Griffin they're on the, well, I don't want to give out their address, but.
Okay, so we're down now to the end of Sergeant Street, where the guys are spraying is Mr. Porter's.
Jeez, stop. Trying to get it to open without it being a slideshow.
Looks like they added a railing too, huh, Peter?
No, that was there.
A railing
Yeah.
was there?
This is what the town, I'll try again. That picture that keeps coming up is what the town portion of the wall looked like before the restoration. And this picture is what the town portion of the wall looked like after restoration. Those flowers are
Beautiful
not.
flowers.
Okay, there's the before picture.
Wait. Page.
There's the after picture.
That's it.
There's another after picture, and you can see that's the stairs that are coming down. Those were replaced maybe 15 years ago by the town. The big drain pipe is draining the street off of Sergeant Street and down to the water. The wall, as I said, was covered with steel reinforcing rod, and then this new spray treatment covered it. This is the picture of the right-hand end is the town wall, where the guys are spraying, moving down to the center of the picture is Mr. and Mrs. Porter's wall. So what they in effect did was they took their construction restoration project and carried it another 30 feet at no cost to the town. And that wall was failing, and it was leaking dirt out from underneath. So I think we owe them a thank you, and they were very pleased, by the way, that they had received a nice letter from DPW Director Steve Calla thanking them for their efforts. I would encourage anybody who lives near a seawall that is deteriorating to call Mr. McKenna and Mr. Calla, and if they don't answer, you call me, and we would be happy to restore any other seawalls. Again, Bob and Loretta, thank you very much for your contribution to the community and to the shoreline of Winthrop. Moving on to upcoming events, the Feldman Seaside Apartments, which had been referred to before as the Temple Project, is going to have their grand opening on January 22nd at 10:30 a.m. The following day is the MMA show and trade show. I have no other upcoming events, but I want to refer back to public comment. Is there anyone who has public comment?
That's a money.
I wanted to just make an announcement. I think some of the counselors, you got an email about the Winthrop High School Holiday Show on the 23rd next week. Miss Calinda's advanced drama class and the Double D's life skill students are putting on. There's 2 shows, 9:45 to 10:45, and a second show at 12:45 to 1:45.
When is that, Rich?
That's Tuesday, the 23rd. So next Tuesday at the Winthrop High School.
And what are the 2 groups, the double Bs? or what's the-
It's the advanced drama class with Miss Calinda's class and the Double B, the life skills program.
Okay.
They put on a joint program that they've both written and rehearsed.
Still under public comment, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Blessed New Year, and continuing on in our progress in the council, I'd like to thank the council for your dedication to us, to the community over this past year, several years, and to each one of our committees and boards that operates within the town, and to all of our citizens. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year. Council.
I express happy holidays to everybody in the town and everybody that does a good job. And I was sitting last night with the town manager and the CFO over at the School Building Assistance Committee, and they, like other committees I sit in, have a tremendous need for some type of minutes and notes in order to keep compliant. And I would like to, as my holiday greeting, ask the town manager to rustle up some thoughts on making a way that every committee that sits in the town would have a standing secretary, and that there's a position there to to do the notes. And I think we should add that in and expand it a little bit and really take a good focus next year on putting in an electronic video system so that we can have 1 or 2 rooms available for meetings. Committees can come in, they can get on the record through video. Somebody could handle it remotely and then go back through the meetings and pull together the notes out of it. And people could search them and we would be compliant moving forward. And if we can just get a handle on what something like that would go for, I think it would be a good starting point to see how we can move ourselves forward. So,
Thank you, Councilor. Any further public comments? Councilor comment?
Mr. President, Santa's Roof Christmas Eve. It's on WCAT, the town website, it'll be in the transcript. There's a couple of minor changes we just wanted to call people's attention to. The last few years, we always get hung up in the lower end of Somerset Ave, the center end, and we lose time and we run late. So there's been a little bit of a change there, and then on River Road, it's gonna go to River to Thornton to Bowden and then pick up the old route. And those are only things where we have problems that we're trying to, stay on time. So anybody who reads the list, those are the only 2 changes, but if you live on those streets, take attention to them.
Thank you, and to the firefighters for the many, many years of Santa Claus. Wasn't a person with your same last name one of the original Santa Clauses? Paul's father, when he was a firefighter, I believe, started it, didn't he, Paul?
Came in a group from the Podge Park.
Yeah. So again, thank you for
Funded it, yeah.
for your annual. That's I know my grandkids love it, and then people come to my house to watch it. If there is no further public comment, do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Vice President Del Vento, seconded by Councilor Lettieri. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Nice job. Excited how much.
that's funny.
It's a long time.